This video is going to show the working Commodore 65 that's for sale. This will all be one sequence. There will be no cuts. I'm going to put the camera on a little tripod and maybe put it to the side. But I'm going to have it as one sequence so you can see that the machine that you're seeing the insides of right now is also going to be the machine that's going to be running some demonstrations. I'm just closing up the top, and I dislodged the video cable. I just slotted it back in there in the back. The video output is going through an open source scan converter box. So the video output is RGB, H and V. It's via a VGA style connector. I'm going to show you a demonstration from the disk drive as well, just to show that the disk drive is working. So the only thing that's for sale here is the Commodore 65 unit. This is a real Commodore 65 prototype that Commodore were working on. First of all, before running a demonstration from the disk, I'm going to use the sound command so that you can verify that the sound output is working as expected. And you can also see that the keyboard is working. There we go. I hope you can hear that. There we go. So the sound command in this Commodore 65 version of BASIC works somewhat. Of course, this is a work in progress version of the BASIC system and also the kernel ROM as well. So not all of the commands that were planned in the Commodore 65 documentation were working, of course, but this is because it's a prototype machine. You can see that there's a power LED and also a drive LED. I pressed Shift and Run Stop on the keyboard, which starts loading the first file that's on the disk. The first file on the disk is, luckily enough, a BASIC file which contains some example code. This loads a few pictures. So it's loading the first King Tut picture from the disk. You can see that for a machine which is a prototype build and also very, very old, that the case is looking pretty good. The plastic is not brittle. It's actually not too bad considering its age. There we go. The King Tut face mask works. Again, just as a reminder, it's just the Commodore 65 unit that you see here for sale. No floppy disks, no cables, no power brick. In fact, the power brick that I'm using is actually a custom-made power supply which supplies the necessary voltage for the Commodore 65, but also my Commodore 64s. So that's why I'm not selling it. So you just get the computer. The next picture that's loading from the disk is the Gorilla picture, and there we go. So although I'm using an open source scan converter, that's only because these days I only have an HDMI based display. So if you have a good, say for example, CRT TV, like I used to have a very large CRT Sony with various RGB, HV, RGBS, NTSC, and PAL SCART inputs. I used to be able to connect this Commodore 65 directly to the TV, but these days I have to use the open source scan converter. That's another nice picture. I'm just going to put the camera down because I need both hands. Just turning it off. Taking the video cable out of the back, and also the left and right audio cable. Taking the disc out so you can see the ports on the back of the machine. I'm going to include some high resolution photos all around the machine, but basically you can see that this machine has this label on the back, serial number 173, and made in Hong Kong. There's the top of the machine. All of the keys on the keyboard obviously work. I was typing in some sound commands earlier on and also pressing shift and run stop. The keys look good. There's not very much fading. This machine has been kept in storage in an air-conditioned room for a very long time. It's also being kept wrapped in plastic and bubble wrap and then stored in a box or several boxes. So these are the two top keyboard retaining clips in the bottom there that you can just use light finger pressure to open. And then that's back inside the machine again. I'm going to include some high resolution photographs of this in the listing, but you can see that this machine here has those identifying stickers on the motherboard. Those stickers are hand placed and hand drawn. You can see that I'm giving a close-up here of the trapdoor, just so you can see that this machine internals are all there. I might include that connector as well if you request it. So that connector is this type of connector that actually connects to the RAM expansion, and if you wanted to, you could try and create your own RAM expansion PCB by using that particular connector. If you desperately want that connector, then I'll send it to you within the sale. Just let me know. So those connectors are very difficult to find these days. I spent ages, months and months and months trying to actually find the correct connector. There seems to be some supply issues with that type of, or that style of connector. So those two tabs, they just clip the top keyboard back in. I'm going to connect the machine back up again. This is a bit fiddly. Turn it on. And there we go. The display is back again. I'm just making sure that the keyboard is correctly seated. And there we go. So the open source scan converter is showing that it's getting a good signal from the machine, and pressing shift and run stop then just does this run quotes star quotes command, which again loads the first file. Here are some of those high resolution photographs that I was talking about earlier on. I will also add individual photographs as full resolution images to this sale listing. So here's some nice close-ups of the PCB. For such an old machine, actually the PCB looks pretty good. This is the trapdoor at the bottom. The plastic is all still pretty good considering its age. That's a close-up of the disc. There we go. There's a close-up of the other corner of the PCB. This is the bottom of the machine. And there's the correct orientation. You can see clearly now that the silver label with serial number 173. And there's the user port, serial port, and the expansion port as well.